Hi, I'm Rebecca and welcome to episode 20 of the Creabea Knitting podcast. Hello and welcome or welcome back. I'm Rebecca, I'm a knitter based in Edinburgh and this is a vlog or a podcast all about knitting. What I'm currently knitting on, what I've been knitting on and what I would like to be casting on in the not too distant future. And there's usually some yarny goodness, and there is some yarny goodness at the end of episode 2. It's an exciting episode because I've got something to share, which I'll get into pretty much straight away because then I'll be a bit more relaxed once I've talked about it. What do I have today? I've got no finished objects. I do have 6 works in progress. An exciting news about one of them, and I've got a little experiment to share my findings about, and I've got some acquisitions, and I think that's it. Let's see. It's been a weird day today. It's Thursday and I tried to film earlier and I was so frazzled, like I was too warm and like my hair wasn't sitting right and like my brain wasn't working, and I sat down for maybe 10 minutes and I thought, no, I can't do this. So I went back, did some more work. I finished my work day now, and now I'm trying to record at the end of the day, which just feels, I feel much calmer, but I definitely have lost a lot of brain capacity because it was a bit of a hectic work day. So we're gonna jump straight in and see how we get on. And hopefully the end result will be coherent. I'm not wearing any knitwear today, I'm wearing a t-shirt. It's an interesting weather situation at the moment in Scotland. It's not quite, I mean, we did have the heat wave earlier in the week, but it's not quite warm enough to wear just a cami. I mean, it kind of is, but does it feel warm enough to just wear a cami? But it's also definitely too warm to wear sweaters. So I'm wearing a lot of t-shirts. So maybe I should just knit some t-shirts. And that is the theme around one of my cast-ons that I'll get to because I did a fat cast on a t-shirt. But let me just get started and jump straight in. My very first work in progress and the exciting news follow on. So if you've watched before, you know what this is. It's my Cargill Sweater. So this is the very first, my very first design. It is a top-down raglan, and last time I'd finished the body in one sleeve, and I've now made some pretty good progress on the second sleeve. I've not finished the second sleeve because I really want to include in the final pattern a recording of how to work the stitch. It's not difficult at all, but I can't find a good one out there. It has, it doesn't seem to have like a singular name. Like sometimes it's called a dip stitch and sometimes it's called like a heart stitch, and it's got a whole host of names. So I can't really find like a coherent, clear video. And the pattern has a little bit of it flat and mostly in the round, so I want to be able to include it, like just film a clip of working the stitch. So it's a 4-row repeat, so the 4 rows in the round and then the 4 rows flat. But to save myself the time of having to cast on a swatch in the round at some point in the future, I'm just going to film on my second sleeve, and I've just not found time to film. So maybe this weekend, and then I can just power through and finish the second sleeve. And then it's going to be done. So the exciting news is that the tester call for this pattern is now live. Hopefully I've lined it up well enough that the tester call, it will go live on Instagram and here on the podcast at the same time. Let me talk about the pattern first and then about the test call, or like the testing process. So the pattern is a top-down raglan. As you can see, this is it. It's not very complicated, so I thought I would talk about a few things that you do, like a few techniques. And what I would say is, I've had a few people message me and say, oh, like I really like the pattern, but I think like I don't think I've got the skills, or like it looks too hard. It's a very simple pattern repeat. So this stitch is nothing complex. There's no cabling, it's just pulling stitches from through below and then slipping them and then knitting them together. So that's it. Don't be put off at all by the stitch pattern. The only thing that's complicated about this, I would say, is the short row shaping at the neck. You cast on flat and you do some increasing and then you join in the round. What I would say though is my original plan was to make a video. What I'm going to do is put it to testers and see how the testers get on with it. And if it's still a point of difficulty, then I can make a video. But hopefully the pattern and instructions are clear enough. So yeah, that's the only thing that's challenging. But even then, it's just working back and forward and making increases. So there's nothing else complicated in this pattern. I would say if you've knit a sweater before, this could definitely be a second sweater. I think it could be a challenging first sweater, just because there's a lot to consider. The gauge, like the pattern stretches a lot with blocking, so it can be hard to gauge, like, is this going to fit me, etc. So there are some things I think would help if you've already done a sweater before. Otherwise, it's definitely could be a second sweater. I would call it a relatively, like, I wouldn't even call it intermediate, I'd call it like advanced beginner. It's got a folded over neckband, so there's some picking up of stitches and some folding over, and again there's like the easy way, like there's the way you're meant to do it, which is where you pick up the stitches and knit them together, or there's the cheeks method, which is where you just seam them down, which is what I do because I don't like the other way. So yeah, so that's the sweater. It takes up quite a lot of yarn. The pattern, the test call is in a form and it's down below here. It's also linked on Instagram if you want to click straight through from Instagram. And the yardage requirements are there. It's quite a squishy, it's a very squishy fabric, and it because of this dip stitch where you're like pulling yarn through, it does use up quite a lot of yarn. Like, what is that? Is it a bee? Is it a wasp? Oh, I think it's a bee. Oh, so it uses up quite a lot of yarn. All the yardage requirements are in there in the Google form. And let's look at the test knit. So the test knit is provisionally going to run for 9 weeks. I don't really know. I think the term I really like that Lizzie from Hive Knits used is a responsible test period. I want to make sure there's a responsible test period. What I'd love to do is run it for 9 weeks. I'm not going to say from the outset it will definitely be extended. What I'd like to be able to do that if a lot of testers need more time, like that's completely fine. It'll just get pushed back. If testers have finished like one sleeve and they can tell me the fit and they can do that, then maybe, for example, it gets released without being completely finished. I don't know. There are 11 sizes, and I think the biggest size is almost twice as much knitting as the smallest size. So obviously, it would be reasonable to expect some people need more time for testing than others. But we're going to start with 9 weeks, which I think makes the deadline like the 20-something of September. It's 9 weeks and it'll start on Monday, so Monday the 25th. The test call is open and it's just a form to fill in. It's all pretty standard questions, like who are you, what's your Instagram, what's your Ravelry, have you test knit before, and you already have an idea of what yarn you'd like to use. A couple of things, those questions are all like decisive, like they're things that they can take into account. In the possibility, that's not the word I want to say, but if there's more than one applicant per I think I'm going to have two. The goal is to have 2 per size. I might have 3, but 2 per size is the goal. And if there are more applicants than I need for a size, then there are a couple of things I want to consider in selecting testers. I've been through such a dilemma about this. I wanted to be the most diverse group as possible, but ultimately I was thinking, like, what are the things that are really important for a first design especially. So firstly is someone who's test knit before. I definitely will give preference to someone who's already done test knitting, and that is simply because it's my first test knit, so I feel like we should have as much experience in the room as possible. And it was my first time running a test knit, and I would appreciate some testers who've got more experience in test knits. Doesn't have to be loads, but just people who've done it a couple of times at least before, and are a bit more confident and like are very comfortable giving feedback. So that's a question. There's a question about Instagram handles, and that is because an element will be like the photography and the pictures people take. It's not going to be the only thing, but obviously part of testing is obviously testing the pattern, and part of it is to showcase what the sweater looks like on a wide variety of bodies using a lot of different yarn. And so I just really love to pick testers who can display their projects in like an aesthetically pleasing way. So like, here's me going about my life wearing my test knit, and this is what it looks like, and this is the yarn I used, and here's my process along the way. So that is important. And the last thing is not like, so the last thing I've asked is if you already have an idea of the yarn you're choosing. This is not to rule anyone out, but it's just that I'd like to use, like I used a strand of fingering and a strand of mohair. It would be cool if there are testers that are testing using non-that, because I know some people don't like mohair. So if there are testers who want to just use DK weight or want to use suri or whatever, I would like to make sure I've got a bit of a variety in the yarn choice that's used. Again, it's not going to rule anyone out, but it's something I'd like to consider. So yeah, those are the questions in the test forum. There are a couple of people like I know who have said they want to test knit, and so for example, there's some people from my knit night who would like to test, and so if they tell me they want to test, then I see them every single Monday. Of course I'm going to let them test, because then I get to see them every Monday, and you know, that's like perfect test knitter. They're going to be consistent, they're not going to drop out, they're going to be able to ask me and like really explain to me problems they're having with it, and so like preference will go to those people. Yeah, I hope I've covered everything. I don't want to be an arse about it, like I don't want to be really like but I want to just make sure it's super transparent if there happens to be more than one applicant per size. There are 11 sizes. They're not super consistent in the sense of like, because it's a stitch pattern, it's not like every size has 10 centimeters between them. Some have 6 and some have 12. So they're, as much as there are 11 sizes, and I think I should have done this, but look this before I started filming. I'm pretty sure it runs from a 70 something centimeter to 170 something centimeter. So it's a really wide range. Like the whole overall range is really wide, but some sizes have 6 centimeters between them and some have 12 between them. I think that's everything. The test application will be open until Sunday. Basically like 48 hours from when this podcast goes live, so probably Sunday at like 1 p.m. BST, British Summer Time. And on Monday I will email everyone, so even if you've not been successful, I'll drop you an email to let you know, because I'll have your email anyway, so that should be easy enough to do. I'll just send out your email to everyone saying thank you, and I will send the pattern to the people who have been successful. It's my first time doing a test knit, so I'm just trying to pick and choose the bits I've enjoyed. There will be an Instagram chat group, because I think that's a really fun way to get on with people, and I've made like a lot of friends being in those chats, and I always feel very stranded when it's not on if it's not on Instagram and it's just like, here's the pattern. I always feel a bit lost, so I like having that. But then I find that Instagram is not a good place to keep track of changes, and so I'll also have a Google document where people can comment their changes to the pattern or like suggestions there. So we're going to see. I would also say an unofficial requirement is some patience. It's my first test knit, like a test knit for others, but it's my first time running one. First time knitting a pattern, and no doubt there are going to be things that need some fixing. But I'm really excited. I can't quite believe it. Like, it feels like a really big thing, and I'm just really excited that there are going to be people out there knitting this pattern. It feels like right now there's only one of these in the whole world. There's only one Cargill, and it's crazy to me that there were going to be more. There's going to be a multitude of them. At least 11, because hopefully I'll have a tester per size. So even if it's just me and my testers to have the pattern, that'll be all. I think that's everything about it. So yeah, overview is the form is below, the sizes and the yardage are in the Google form. The Google form will close on Sunday at 1 p.m. BST, but like if I don't know if I'll fill the sizes by then, so maybe it'll get extended. But that's what I'm saying. That's my provisional goal. Is that everything? You can use any yarn you want. The gauge is 19 stitches per 10 centimeters. I used fingering and mohair, but anything that gets gauge is fine. I'm encouraged. And I think that's it. Ah! Can you believe this? I can't believe this. Yeah. Thanks to everyone who has left me really nice comments about it, because I definitely feel like the encouragement has definitely kept me going. And the tech editing actually has been really nice. I've really enjoyed it. I'm on my 3rd round of edits, so they've sent, like, my tech editor sent back for the 3rd time with some comments. But we're down to like the nitty gritty now. Like, there's not a full stop here, or like this is double spaced. Like, it's So I'm feeling good about it. So that is the one thing I will say. It's been fully tech edited. So despite it, yes, it's a first pattern, it is unlikely, I don't want to promise anything, but it's like there might still be some small issues with stitch count, but somebody who is a professional has taken a look over all my numbers, has checked all my maths, has made sure that like my yoke depth all makes sense and my gauge makes sense, and like the arms aren't like, you know what I mean, like you're not going to have like a really tight body and billowing arms, like that's not going to happen, because I've had it like she's flagged before. I've had numbers wrong, and for example my smallest size, my size 1, I had the wrong, like I just put, I think it was like 9 repeats, and I think it was 18, I put 9, and she was like, this is way too short, check the standards. And I was like, oh, that's a typo, but it gave me a lot of reassurance that my maths is being compared to standard size charts. So yeah, that was the first thing. It's live. If you'd like to test, please test. If you're on Instagram and you see the post where I'm calling for testers and you're not testing, it'd be great if you can share the post or save the post, because that means more people will see it, and hopefully I can fill all 11 sizes with test knitters. And I'll keep updating here. Hopefully by the next episode my sweater will be finished and I can wear it and show you if it's not roasting warm. And I'll just try and keep making a point to like share as the test that's going on. I guess if it's 9 weeks, that's like 4 to 5 podcast episodes. So hopefully I can just share a little bit, like even if it's not a work in progress, I can just tell you like a bit of a status update each time. Yeah, that's my Cargill. Let's move on to my other whips. I have another design, but I'll leave that one and we'll go to some more conventional whips, and I'll maybe come to that one at the end. I will also say one of the reasons that I've still not filmed this is that I've not run out of mohair. I have mohair, but it's in another room, and every time I pick it up, I'm too lazy to go and get the mohair. I just need to, like, I finished my mohair and I've not finished my main yarn, and so I'm just being epically lazy. Yeah, and I wanted to say, I rehearsed this in my head and I forgot to say it. The purpose of test knitting is, there are a couple of things. Oh, I did this all wrong. I meant to say this at the start. Oh. There are a couple of things. It shouldn't be, like, test knitting should be validating my maths. It shouldn't be reading through the pattern and saying, this is wrong, this is not going to fit me, or like, I think this doesn't, like, this is the wrong sizing. Like, that should have all been ironed out in the tech editing phase. So from a test knitter, there are a couple of things. The main thing is like legibility and understanding. Has what I've written made sense? Like, if I managed to translate this from my brain to a pattern that can be read by many people and make sense. And the second thing, there will be a degree of like how it fits different bodies. Of course, it's all been done by maths. Like, I know this fits me really well, but not all bodies are the same. So if you have a bust of this size, does it make sense that the arm is this much, and does the yoke depth make sense, etc. And the final thing is yardage, like making sure that I've not massively overestimated how much yarn it's going to take, or underestimated, because again, it's a formula and math can be wrong. So one of the things I'll be asking is like, how much yarn did you use? And if I find that I've said it's 1600 meters and you've only used 1200 meters, how can I change that in a pattern? There we go. I meant to say that at the start. Okay, where to begin? I'm missing a whip. Okay, here we go. I went to try this on and I forgot to try it on. So, okay, my second whip has not had any appreciation. It's funny, I realised that I do a thing where, my usual rhythm is that I podcast every 2 weeks on a Thursday, and then I publish on a Friday. And from the day of publishing on the Friday until like the Monday that I'm going to film again, I feel like I make no progress, or I only knit on the same things. Like, I knit on 2 things for 10 days. And then in the 4 days before the podcast, and then I'm always like, what? I'm just gonna be a really short episode. I've got nothing to talk about. And then either I cast on all the things, or I pick up old projects I've not touched. And then by the time the podcast rolls around, I've done things. And I don't know if I'm influenced by the podcast, or if it's just that every 2 weeks I want to try something new. I don't know. But this whip has not been touched for a little while, and I picked it up this week. So it's gonna look ridiculous because it's very much a whip. So this is my polo shirt. It looks so silly. So these bits are really folded over. So, a couple things. I'm not crazy about this in the sense of like, I don't think I'm super happy with it, but we're going to finish it off and see how wearable it is. And then I guess like go from there with the design, or not with the design. I'm not really turning it to design. I might make a second one if I like it, but it's more just an experiment. So what happened is I started from the bottom and I cast on, and then I cast off under the arms, and then I knit the front and back panels separately, and then I seamed up the, I didn't actually seam, I bound off the shoulders. So I did a 3-needle bind off. I've talked about this before. I just think it's really neat. I don't really trust my seaming, and it's not an unusual place to have a seam. Like, I have a seam here, right? That just looks normal. So why could I not have a seam on my polo shirt? So I find it way easier, way less stress. You just do it from the inside. So there's a little ridge on the inside, and from the outside it just is a neat seam. So what I have to do next is probably knit the sleeves. So it's a bit of a drop shoulder, so I'll pick up for the sleeves and knit just a little bit, probably to the same length as this, and do a bit of ribbing. And then I've got sort of collar, and so the goal is that the first thing I'll do is knit these two front little. Now, this is the first mistake I made. I wrote this out before I wrote out the pattern before I cast, like, as I was casting on. So I worked out all the maths for this top part. I think this is too wide. So this is going to be the placket, and I just think it's going to be too chunky. Like, I think I want a narrower placket. We're going to roll with it and see what happens. So I need to somehow, this is where I need to start thinking. I've got some polo patterns, so I think I'm just going to read through the instructions of my other polo shirt patterns and see how they do it, and then come up with one that suits. So I want to somehow pick up twice. So I'll pick up twice from this, and one will go along this side and one will go along this side. And then I'm going to pick up all the way from the front of the placket, all the way around to the front of the placket, I think. Probably, maybe not, maybe just to here. I've not decided if I'm going to go all the way to the placket or not. And then at the collar, ribbing, not ribbing, I'm not sure, not decided. But I got a really good tip from the lovely Laura Penrose, who told me to add some short rows to the collar to make it lie flat, because otherwise there's not really enough fabric for it to curve over. So that's going to happen at some point when I've got the brain space to do it. So I think what I'd like to in the next couple of weeks is to get the sleeves done, and then I'll tackle this when I feel like the power to tackle this. I also have to try it on. My maths for this is pretty similar to another whip, like the new whip I've cast on. So I want to try this one on and just make sure, like, is that might actually, I'm not entirely sure that armhole is deep enough. So I'll listen trying on and decide what I think, and then go from there. That looks so messy. I feel like cotton really shows all my flaws, like all my bad stitching can be seen, but blocking will fix it. So yeah, that's a polo shirt. I'm knitting it in, oh, of course I don't have the project bag. I'm knitting it in Rowan Summerlite DK, which I like. I think it's a really nice yarn. It's very soft. It's not got that crunchiness that a lot of cotton has. Yeah, I'm not passionate about this project, but I feel like I'm so close. I should just finish it, but I'm not. Like, there are so many things in my videos I'm excited about, and this is not one of them. But I need to finish it so I can wear it in summer. Otherwise it's not going to be summer anymore, and I'm going to have a cotton polo shirt in my whip pile. Okay, that's number one. Actually, it's number two. Where to next? Okay, let's go here. That's it's in an acquisition. It's in a new bag, but that's fine. This is my daily pullover by Paula Pereria for Purl Soho. This is my first fingering weight sweater, and that's just a challenge. Like we all know, fingering weight, it just takes more time, takes more energy, takes a long time basically. So here we go. Ta-da! So I think I'm just about ready. I just finished, like in my meetings today, I just finished this ball of yarn, which I think was my third ball, all 50 grams. So I still got obviously the two sleeves to go and then the bottom ribbing. What I have done since last time is a bit more work on the body, and I've done this neck band. It's not sitting super neat, but I think it'll The short rows are really bulging out, but I know that'll block out. So yeah, it's this really pretty v-neck. I really enjoyed, I think it's my first time successfully doing a center double decrease, and I enjoyed it a lot. I struggled with it in the past and it's never come out neat, and this time it did, so that was really nice. And yeah, the body is just about done. I tried it on earlier in the week. I took this, I think maybe I tried it on at the weekend, and I took this to knit night on Monday. I did some knitting on it, and I knit a bit on it today, so I think I probably will give it another try on and then get started on the bottom ribbing. The pattern has shaping before the ribbing, and I'm just not doing it. I probably should do it. I don't see the value of doing it, but also if I did it, then maybe I'd understand the value of it. But I'm lazy, and I don't have a single other sweater which has short row shaping at the bottom of the back, so I'm not going to do it. There's already neckline shaping, so it's not like it's to lift the back of the neck, because this already has short rows. It's purely to shape the bottom. Someone's going to tell me in the comments why there's short row shaping at the bottom, and I don't know what it is, but I'm not doing it. So maybe I'll do it another time. It's so lightweight, it's lovely. And that's the next thing. This yarn is amazing. It is Kinross 4-ply from Wee County Yarns. It is stocked for Wee County Yarns. It's also stocked by Beautiful Knitters in London. And spoiler alert, I went to Beautiful Knitters in London. I've got a bag of stuff to show from there. But I went there maybe in December, and I touched some of the yarn, and it was so amazing. It was like, the swatch was so soft. It's 100% lamb's wool, and it was like fluffy and perfect. It was stunning. And at the time I bought 2 skeins of grey. I think I was gonna make a hat. I think I like the idea of making like a musselburgh hat. And then I went to the Scottish Wool Producers Showcase, which was the I don't know what it was, April maybe, which is kind of like the sibling event of Perth Festival of Yarn, organised by the same person. And Wee County Yarns was there, and so at that point I bought more of this. And I've been knitting, and that's been great, and it's been really enjoyable to knit with. It's a lovely yarn, but it changes so much with blocking. And I can't have swatched for this because I can't find my swatch anywhere, and I really don't think I swatched. I think I swatched, but I don't think I wet blocked it, which I think makes me a bad knitter, but I don't care. And why did I not though? Like, I really do swatch. I'm a well-behaved swatcher. Anyway, I don't remember swatching, like blocking this yarn, but it changes so much. And I went into Beautiful Knitters, and it was there, and their swatch was there, and I was touching it, and I had this in my backpack, and I was like, oh, and it just really made me remember why I'm making this, because the swatch is so good. So I'm excited to have this finished, just so I can blocking it is my current highlight. Not quite in life, but it's something I'm very much looking forward to. What else was I going to say? They had a light blue colour in the shop, and I almost bought it. But I think I'm going to try and finish this by Perth, by the time that Perth Festival of Yarn rolls around. And then if I really like how it's blocked up, maybe they'll have the blue one there. This has been super enjoyable, except for the back and forth. Like, the back and forth for the yoke took me so long, and I just wasn't loving it. But the body has flown, so I think my next fingering weight sweater is going to be top down raglan, or something top down, something with no back and forth. Because otherwise I really like fingering weight sweaters apparently, and yeah, it's gonna look so cute. It's gonna be so wearable. I'm convinced I will make this, and my mum is gonna be like, oh, amazing, I want one. And honestly, the light blue version is a very my mum colour, but I'm not going to commit to making her a fingering weight sweater. Like, I might still make it, but I'm not going to tell her. We'll see. Maybe I'll do it, maybe not. Okay. Oh, that was back in this little bag. I've got a little bag to show, but I'll wait to the acquisitions. But this was in my little bag. Put it back in there. 3 more bits. Okay, let me do this one first. So, on Wednesday, it was 30 plus degrees in Scotland, which never happens. And in the morning, I woke up and I was like, I got like a coffee and put a podcast on. I had like a chill little half hour before I start work. And I was watching Inga of Knitting Traditions, who's just back from her holiday in Turkey. And I'm so jealous. Like, she's all like blonde and tanned and has all these amazing new knitting projects. And I was like, I want that. But I don't know why, but I left that watching that podcast and I was like, I need to cast on a summer knit. And I don't think I've been so good with summer knits. I think the problem is that it's not quite been warm enough for for like summer camis. And I've not really been that inspired by t-shirts. Like there are a lot out there, but I just don't like them. I like simplicity or like interesting textures and stitch patterns. But I think I mentioned before that I find a lot of summer patterns quite fussy or just don't have any range of sizes in them. So I'm just making something up. I'm just doing a top down raglan. I started with a no-frill sweater as like my base because I've made that 5 times now, so I know how it works. So I cast on the smallest number of sizes for the neck, and that was quite helpful because then I knew the division of like the front and the back, and I could have worked that out, but I didn't want to. I just wanted to cast on. And then all I've done since then, so let me show you the product first. Also, it's now Thursday. No, I didn't cast this on Wednesday. I cast this on Tuesday. But I am flying through this. On Tuesday. Look how much done. It's quite heavy actually. So I'll come back to the yarn. So what I did was I cast on 108 stitches and I did 8 rounds of ribbing and I split for the raglan, and then I did some short rows. I didn't do as many short rows as in the pattern. I did maybe an inch of short rows, and then I just knit until I thought it was long enough for the yoke. And originally what I did was I measured my gauge, I've done it on bigger needles as well. So I think I used a 4mm. The no frills is 21 stitches per 10 centimeters, and this is 18 stitches. So I went up to a 4.5mm needle. That's one thing I like with summer knits. Like I don't want them to be see-through, but I want them to be airy and have some like, I don't want a dense fabric, right? Like I want a lot of drape in them. So 18 was perfect. So it's 18 stitches per 10 centimeters. And then I just knit the yoke. And what I thought was I gave myself a stitch count that I had to get to for it to fit the bust. I'm way under. I'm like 20 stitches under. But I kept knitting the yoke and I kept trying it on. And I thought, I think I wanted to get to 100 for the front and the back. And then I was going to cast on 4 under each side, and that was going to give me like 100 and something finished bust. 120-ish finished bust. That's way too big. I like that much ease in a sweater. I don't need that much ease in a t-shirt. So I don't know where I got to. I should have made a note, but I think I got to 84 stitches in the front and the back. Cast on 4 under each arm, and then just started knitting in the round. I split for sleeves. We went to the cinema last night. We went for a really nice meal, actually. If anyone's in Edinburgh, I went to Bodega on Leith Walk. Really good food. Like tacos, really nice cocktails, had a good margarita. We went there, and then we went to see Top Gun. We wanted to go see Thor, Love and Thunder. Sorry, I digress. We wanted to go see Thor, Love and Thunder, but I have not really seen any Marvel movies. So I went to try and start watching them. So like a week and a half ago, I started watching the Marvel movies. And I'm only really, if I'm being honest, I was only going to watch Thor and Avengers. But then apparently I was missing a fundamental plot twist, according to my boyfriend. So I watched 2 Captain America movies, which are basically the same as Avengers movies because it's got all the Avengers in them. So I watched them. So I'm behind. So the whole point was that by now I would be ready to go and watch Thor, Love and Thunder. But I still have Avengers Endgame to watch. So we didn't go see that. We did go see Top Gun, and it was amazing. I know I'm late to the party. Everyone's already seen Top Gun. It was great. I loved it. It was so camp. It was amazing. Anyway, right before we went out the door, I didn't have anything to work on in the round. I mean, I could have taken my daily pullover and done the ribbing, but I didn't. I should have, to be honest. But anyway, I wanted to get this to a stage where I could take it. So that's what I did. So I finished literally had just done 1 round under the, 1 round of, I separated and I done 1 round, and I went to the cinema. and then I knit through this the whole time. So I got like this much done. And so it's pretty good. So yeah, that is where I'm at with this. And it's also amazing because I'm already like, I'm maybe not halfway through the body and like a third through the body. And then the sleeves are just really short. Amazing. So I'm feeling really good about this. I'm enjoying it. It feels like a real palette cleanser. Like it felt like a bit of an indulgent. And also, I was watching Brogan from Woolly Witchcraft. Brogan's back, guys. If anyone's missed Brogan, I know I have. She's back. She's got red hair and lots of knits. So I was watching her this morning and she talked about a comfort knit, like what her comfort pattern is. Mine is a top down raglan because there's no purling. You just knit. It's a bit of interest. It's not just round and round and round, but there's something happening, but nothing hard. And that's how I feel about this. So yeah, and I'm holding it up now and I'm really liking the colour. This yarn is Drops Belle, which I got in the sale. Drops Belle. And the colour is Almond Rose. And I'm actually really curious. I'm going to check how much I paid for this because I think, again, it was a very inexpensive yarn. So I stopped to check the price of the yarn, realised I had a delivery, stopped to check a work call. Now I'm back. £2.60. So oh, that's not it. Where did it go? Oh, it's here. Yeah, so it was £2.60 for each ball of this, and I have 10 balls of it. So £12.60 total, which I think is super well priced. That was in the sale. I just love that. Like, I love that I'll have like a nice knitted t-shirt for like £12. I have this colour I love. I also got some in like a sky blue colour, which I don't know why, because it's really not my colour. Like, I don't really wear a lot of blues. Like, this is gonna look so nice. These earrings are gonna go really nicely with it too. But yeah, so if I like this, honestly, I might just do the same thing with the blue. We'll see. We'll get it to finish. I tried it on this morning and I was amazed at how well it fit. Like, it was absolutely perfect. I just thought, I think if I try to recreate it, maybe I won't. Maybe I'm not, like, it might just be pure luck that this one worked out well. That's what I was gonna check. So it's a mix. It's a mix. It is yarn group B. Don't know what that means. It is 120 meters per 50 grams. So it is definitely like a DK. It's a DK weight, like a heavy DK weight. So I mean, its recommended stitches are 21 stitches per 10 centimeters, and I'm knitting at 18, and I much prefer the gauge. So maybe that's just me. 53% cotton, 33% viscose, 14% linen. And you can see, actually, if I can find a strand. Oh, I'm making a mess. It's quite, like, you can, yeah, sorry, my camera quality is not very good on my iPad. You definitely can't really tell, but it's very loosely plied, and you can see the different fibres, which adds like an interesting depth of colour, because some of it's like more pinkish than others. But yeah, so that's in this cute bag actually, and the colour actually goes really quite well with like the pink of this. And yeah, so that's where I'm at. Oh, of course I dropped a boatload of stitches in my rumbling around. Oh dear. Let's just put them back on the needle and I can pick up the drop ones in a minute. So yeah, I'm not, and hopefully we'll finish this by next time. What is going on? I hopefully will finish this by next time. Goodness, sorry. Put it down and I'll finish talking because I'm distracting myself. I'll hopefully finish this by next time. I think that'll be pretty simple and straightforward. It's just some round and round knitting. It might be my work knitting next week. And then I'll be done. And what's next up? Okay, let me talk about this one. This is the chest knit. I started it last time. So it's not a new whip, but I have made quite a lot of progress. So this is a test knit for Alex from Vert and Rose. She's done a few different designs. I think this might be her 4th design. And it is a wrap cardigan. And it's knit, I mean the sample is knit in Suri. Oh, am I halfway through a row? Yes. Why do I cause this chaos for myself? I ran out of mohair and I've just finished halfway through a row. So let's just hope I don't knock them all off. It is a wrap cardigan, and the sample is knit up in Drops Alpaca, but the suggested yarn is also 2 strands of mohair held together. So that's what I'm doing, and I talked about this last time. I ordered some Drops Alpaca. It was black. I wanted a black version, and then I just couldn't, like, I did the swatch and I could not see the stitches. It was just fluff, and I was annoyed, and I thought I don't really want to put all this effort into this design if I can't see any of it, any of the details, so I switched to mohair. So this is what we have so far. So last time I think I'd only done the back, this little back panel, and so now I've done both of these front panels. It's feeling very large, but I'm also aware that obviously this is going to wrap, and so this, like, it's definitely, the current number of stitches on my needles is definitely wider than a usual cardigan would be. So what have I done? I have, I knit these 2 front panels. So this one here, it's got this interesting, there's a twisted stitch and there's a dropped, like a knit 3 below. And then I knit this one, you knit them independently. And then you join under the arms, which I've also done. Actually, I've just noticed there's quite a big change. There's quite a big colour difference between dial-up that I've only just noticed. Oh no. I wonder if this, can you see this on camera? Kind of, yeah, you can kind of see it. Oh, it's quite obvious to the eye, but I've only just noticed. Here, up until here, is like a lot more yellow, and this is a lot more white. Oh no! So annoying. I mean, I didn't notice, so it's not that big of a deal. That's so interesting. It's definitely just this is real life disappointment on my face. Anyway, okay. It's so strange. Oh no, it's even, oh, you don't know if you can tell, but like this is a lot more yellow than this. I mean, I've honestly been knitting on this for a week, so I don't notice, so like, it can't be that bad. But now that I see it, I am annoyed. Anyway, I'll come back and deal with that at some point. I was considering dyeing this, and now I think I'll definitely be dyeing this. Okay, let me talk about the pattern. So the way it works, you cast on this back triangle, and you cast on, all I can see is that colour change. You cast on these 2 front bits, and then under the arm you start doing a bit of bust shaping, and then I'm not far from finishing, to be honest, the front, because then there's quite a thick, like quite a wide waist tie that you start knitting, and then I think you knit quite a lot, and then you join it to the bottom, and then you keep knitting, and then I have sleeves to go. It's a very enjoyable knit, like it's very moorish, and I've really enjoyed knitting with the mohair held double. I'm on a 3.25mm needle, it's quite small, and it's quite a lot of fabric to be knitting up, so it does feel like a lot of work, but it doesn't, like, it's a 20 stitch gauge, so it is going quite quickly. The test is definitely the most challenging test that I've been part of, and it's not because, like, the design is beautiful, and I think at least for my size, all the maths is working out, but it's really tricky. Like, there are quite a lot of parts in it because it's such a tailored fit. Like, for example, one side, like, you knit these increases to increase the wrap, and those increases continue for every size, but depending on your size depends on where you start the bust shaping and where you join under the arms. So some people might join under the arms and only have done half of their increases, and some might have done a third, and some might have done 2/3. So there's not a firm stitch count for when you should join under the arms, or how many stitches you should have on your needles at any point. And so I think that is quite tricky, because it's quite a lot of estimation. And then, for example, like, if you've got a larger bust, there's instructions for how to make it fit better for, like, a larger bust. but it is also relatively, it's kind of like if you've got a bigger difference between your bust and your waist, increase more frequently, and like increase more frequently if you're not an experienced knitter. You have to have quite a lot of confidence to know, like, to be able to just go ahead and do that and to just increase more frequently. So I'd say there's not a lot of hand holding with the pattern. That being said, the construction is beautiful. It's very cleverly done. And of course, like, all those elements mean that it's an incredibly well tailored pattern and it's going to fit your body the way you want it to fit. But there have been some testers who've had to rip back like whole panels of mohair or suri because this instructions haven't, like, they've not quite grasped the right part of the instructions. It's a challenging test knit. I'm glad I'm doing it. I'm really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to the finished products. I think I'm quite far ahead. I took this with me. We went to London actually for 2 days last week, and I took this with me and I powered through it. Like, I got a whole panel knit on the train home. So I think that's really helped because, like, I feel like I'm ahead of, like, I'm in a good place with it. And now I just need to finish the increases and then start the waist high. I'm feeling good about the waist high, but it's 50 centimetres. I mean, it's more than that. You knit 50 centimetres-ish, I think, and then you knit the whole bit on the body, and then you knit 50 more centimetres. I can't be arsed. Just the thought of picking it up, I'm like, ugh. But I'll be fine. And it's also on the smaller size needle, so I'm on a 3mm needle for that. And my brain is just, it keeps finding other things to do that it finds more enjoyable. And I'm annoyed because now I've spotted the colour difference. It's gonna bother me even more. Anyway, so yes, this is a Zosia, sorry, it's a pattern name. I'm really excited to block this out. There's a lot of like detailing here that I think will really open up lovely. It'll be really pretty. And I'm a bit concerned about fit, so I'm looking forward to getting the body finished, and I'll probably put this on scrap yarn or like on a tie for a bit so I can try this on and make sure it fits, because it feels big to me. But there is a possibility of us, like I say, like, it feels big, it feels like a lot of stitches, but this is going to wrap. It's also a tie, so I can just tie it tighter. And my gauge might have relaxed. Like, I've now been knitting on this back and forth for quite a while. There's a possibility that my gauge is relaxed, but to be honest, I'm not going down to, like, I'm already on a 3.25 for my biggest size needle, which in the pattern is a 4.5. I'm not going down any smaller. So yeah, I'm so annoyed with this colour change. It's really, really wound me up, yeah. Again, like, it's not that obvious. Well, it kind of, yeah, there you go, that's quite clear, right? This is definitely more yellow and this is definitely more white. But that leads me on to my experiment. So let me talk about my experiment. I mentioned, let me put this back. So I knit up a sweater, not a sweater, a camisole in Knitting for Olive cotton merino, and I didn't like the colour of it. The colour is Piglet. It's a bit beige, it's too pink beige, and so I considered dyeing it. And so what I thought I would do is order some dye and dye up a little bit. Thank you so much. Somebody gave me a tip. I have a little ball left and somebody said don't dye all of it, just dye a little bit of it, because then you've got more. If you don't like that, you can try another colour. That was an amazing tip. And so I got some commercial black dye and I put in some of the cotton merino and my swatch from the Zosia cardigan to see about dyeing them black. And here are the results. So first of all, we have the drops cotton merino. Now I'm aware this is a bad way to show it. Okay, I have a little bit of white paper, maybe that'll help. Yeah. Okay, so that's what it's come out like. It's like a faded black, to be honest. It's not taken very evenly, but I don't think it's problematically so. It's not like a jet black, it's definitely like a wash black colour. But what I was worried about, it's part cotton and part merino, and I really thought the cotton and merino would take to the yarn differently, and it's not. Like, it's pretty evenly dyed. I can see some bits that are more purpley colour than black. Yeah, I'm not sold enough on this, I don't think, to want to dye the camisole. So that says enough, I think. I thought I was when I took it out of the water, but I did it yesterday and I let it to dry now, and I just don't think it's a very, like, it just looks a bit faded, a bit washed out. So back to the drawing board for that one. Luckily, thanks to the tip of somebody, I've got some yarn left to dye. The second one, which I also put into the black dye bath, came out green. So this is the Mohair, and it is literally like a forest green colour. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I would prefer this to my two-toned white. I guess my thing is I want to make it a colour, I want to make it in a colour that's going to be wearable, and I need to decide what wearable means for me. I thought it would be black. I likely going to wear it over dresses and skirts, and I thought that was black, but maybe it's navy. Maybe that's the way I go, because I do have a lot of navy dresses, or like blue dresses that I would wear navy with. So maybe I'll order some more dye, do another little swatch and see how I get on with that one. I am now pretty confident I'm going to dye it because I'm annoyed at the colour changes, and so I think I'm going to have to dye whatever I get. But I thought it was really interesting. Like it came out really green from the black dye bath. So interesting observations. It was a good method for elimination. Like I've not quite landed on what I am going to do, but I know at least what I'm not going to do. And that's my Zosia cardigan. I'm enjoying knitting it a lot. I'm now annoyed at the colour change, but I'll fix it. That's fixable. And yeah, I'm looking forward. Maybe I should try and focus on that over the next couple of days. I'd quite like to get to a place where the body's done. And then I think the little Mohair waist belt is going to be, at least up until the point where it joins the body, it's going to be very transportable. So I should get moving on that one too. Okay, one more whip. Sorry, I feel like I've been here for ages, but I think it's just because I've been stopping and starting all day. And it's not actually been that long. So this final whip is a new design. It's interesting because I honestly feel like with the Cargill, I feel like once my confidence, like once I realised that I could turn an idea into a pattern, and like the way it looks in my head is actually the way it will come out, and I can write that up, it was like a wave of confidence, which also came with a wave of new ideas, because I thought, well, here's the thing I want to make, well, I can make that. So that's happened. So I think I also have the next one after this in my head, but I'm not going to cast that on just yet until I've got something else off my needles, probably the wrap. Because yeah, there are quite a lot of like, not big projects, but there are quite a few things on my needles right now which like require some mental focus. But I cast this one on, I had absolutely no qualms about it, and this has been the result of maybe 2 Marvel movies, maybe 3, 2 and like a little bit. And I love it. What I really enjoyed with this is I had a picture in my head of what I wanted, and then I went looking around for like a stitch pattern that would deliver on the mental vision. With Cargill, I found the stitch pattern first and then made the sweater. With this, like I know what I want the sweater to look like, and I was trying to get like I was trying to create the fabric, which was really interesting. So this is it. It is knit bottom up. Funny story as to why it's bottom up, but here we go first. Looks so cool. So this is the hem. It's a really interesting design. So the stitch, sorry. So it's like a 2-color rib stitch. So the black, like it's like basically knit pearls, and then every second knit stitch is a contrast colour, and all the black stitches in the middle are pearl. It's really nice. I love the combination of texture, like it's really textured knit, but also it's like colour work. It's going to be drop shoulder, and it's also quite nice because colour work flat is real tricky, but this flat is not tricky. This flat is quite nice to do, so it means you can continue like a colour contrast design up a flat yoke without having to worry about knitting colour work flat. And yeah, I really like it. It's super fun to knit. Like it's really interesting. I also love that I tried a few other stitches. I tried the linen stitch, and I tried like a few other slip stitch patterns, and I couldn't find something which was suitably. There were 2 main things. Either it took ages to knit. Inga from Knitting Traditions has just made some like dishcloths like some tea towels basically, in linen stitch, and she points out that like between 2 points is 8 rows of linen stitch, and yeah, it took so long. This doesn't take long at all. This is much faster. And I know that like speed is not everything, but it has to be enjoyable, right? Like you have to enjoy knitting it. And the second thing is the texture. So this is still quite a light fabric. It still feels quite like it's not very thick. It still just feels like a DK weight sweater. And I was worried about with the linen stitch, it was very heavy and there was no drape at all. And even the other ones I tried, the slip stitches, it made a very thick fabric because of all the slips. But this is not thick at all, despite there are slips on the inside. But it doesn't feel very, very thick. I'm using Holst, so if you want to know how lazy I am, this is an accurate sign of how much I wanted to cast it on. So I have some already caked up, like little white ones. I bought this yarn to be the Great Gingham Raglan, together with some purple, and then I completely went off the gingham raglan. And I have this, and I'm holding it together with Oxford, and I only just wound up enough to swatch. I mean, I think I wound up a 50-gram ball, so the whole cone, so I'm holding the whole double, and so I've got like a whole cone in this, so I need to finish this so that I can wind up a reasonable size amount of Holst on Oxford, because currently I'm taking this everywhere with me. I mean, I'm only knitting at home, but like I trudge from the bedroom back to the sofa, to the desk, to wherever with like a whole cone with me. So yeah, I will say, I found the swatch, I mean, everyone says this, it's my first time using Holst Supersoft. Yeah. I've got quite a lot of it, but I've not knit with it before. It really softens up a lot with washing. But I have to keep reminding myself that by like finding the swatch and touching the swatch. Because this to me feels still very, like it feels like it'd stand up by itself. I mean, it kind of can, not really. Can't at all, but it feels like a very firm fabric, but I know that with blocking that will soften. And yeah, I just think it looks so good. I love these two colors together. I love that it's like contrast but not, you know, it's like graphic as opposed to really high contrast. So yeah, it's going to be like an all over stitch pattern with like an interesting color. Yeah, I'm excited. So I need to knit the body for a bit more. It took me a little while actually to work out how to wrap. This is the beginning of round, you can kind of see it here. And it took me a little while to work out how to wrap the yarns to make sure there wasn't a gap. So there are like 4 rows where there's just a huge gap between them here. It's fine, I'll block out, just a sample. So yeah, I'm trying to stay on top of writing this as I go, or at least I've got, for my size, I've written out my instructions so far. I think I need to review the armhole depth, but I will do that once I get a bit closer to it. Right now I'm just really enjoying this stitch pattern. And yeah, it's going, like I say, pretty quickly. So this is going to be called the Webster Sweater. And I would love, like, I think I'm just really excited for it. I want to make like 5 samples because I keep thinking of colour combinations. Like, can you imagine this in 2 pastel colours? It's like a low contrast. Or can you imagine this, it's DK gauge, I think it's 22 stitches. Like, can you imagine this with one, like a main colour and then an ombre or like a chain, like a hand-dyed contrast, or even like a changing colour contrast? Like, that would be amazing. Like a fade. Oh, it looks so cool. So yeah, I'm already thinking of all the things, but I'm just gonna keep messing on it. I'm just gonna see how it goes, and not think too much about it. I will say I'm going into this with much more confidence. I feel like the fact that the Cargill maths was not complete chaos, I feel a lot more confident about this one. I'm trusting myself a bit more with the process, and part of me thought, like, should I just make a raglan again because it's easy? But I thought, no, like, the vision in my head is a drop shoulder construction, so I'm going to go with a drop shoulder construction. Funny story is, in the swatch, which I can't find actually, I must have tidied it up somewhere, which sounds very unlike me. Is that it? No, don't know. Can't find the swatch, but with the swatch, I tried to do some increases, and they were so messy. I was like pondering and pondering, like, how am I going to tackle this? I can't get this to look neat and also make an edge that I could pick up from. And then I was like, Rebecca, just knit from the bottom up and then you can just do decreases instead of increases. So yeah, I'm doing decreases. That's why I'm doing this bottom up, so that instead of having to start somewhere and increase out, I can just decrease the stitches, and that's going to be way cleaner than trying to increase. So yes, that's my life hack. So yeah, that's the second pattern. This is my pattern. It's called the Webster Sweater. Stay tuned for some progress. I'm not powering through this. There's no deadline for this. I'm just really enjoying knitting on it. It's been enjoyable, like movie knitting. It's nice that it's just round and round so far, and not having to worry too much about anything else. And also this this construction is pretty similar to this construction of this polo. So I'm going to try this polo on and see how I feel about like the things like the arm depth and stuff, and then revise my written pattern to see what I like the fit of and what I don't like the fit of. Because at least the body is, like the neckline's different, but the body and the sleeves are currently written the same for both. So that's my whips, all 5 of them. So I've got a tiny little bit of acquisitions. It's actually more than I thought it would be, because when I took that pause to check the cost of the yarn, I realised I had an email that was like, your Etsy parcel's arrived, and I was like, oh my goodness, and then I realised it had arrived, so I got that to show. So, okay, I have 3 project bags, and I have some yarn. I don't know if anyone else has this, but I go through a phase of like, I never seem to just buy one project bag. I always seem to buy like 3 at once, and then not buy any for 6 months. I don't know why this is. I decide that I don't like all of them at the same time, and then all of a sudden I want new ones. I will say I have a 4th one in the post to me, and it's the Petite Knit blue Petite Knit bag, which was extortionately expensive, but I bought it. I'll talk about it next time once it's arrived. I thought it might come today, and I saw on Instagram that some people have theirs already. I do not have mine, so I'll talk about the ones I do have. I will start with the one that just arrived. So I saw this one on Instagram, and it's so very, very cute. So this is it. It's the small size. It's from Willow Bay Handmade, who I think I must have been following the knitter for a while, and then the knitter posted the bag shop, and I started following them. And I'm not sure if this is the first one I saw or if I saw the pink ones, but I thought they were so cute. It's a little cord bag. It's so nicely made. It's got this really nice like webbing, and then on the inside there are a couple of pockets, and there's this little keychain with stitch markers, which I absolutely love. I carry little tins of stitch markers, but this is just even easier. And yeah, it's not huge. Like it's not going to fit my whole cone of yarn, but the whole polo, for example, like this is, yeah, that's perfect. So would fit that in it. And it's got these little cords. And it's very cute. It's such a summery colour. Yeah, I really like it. So I think they're relatively regular updates. They also put a pink set live. They're also patterned, like they're not all corduroy, some are patterned. But there's a pink one. And I think at some point in the past I saw rust coloured one, and that was one I really wanted. But I was too impatient, and I always thought, well, if I get a rust coloured one in the future, then it'll just go well with this. There's also a big one, like this size, which I think is called like a duffel or a hold all, which I thought was amazing. But I just, after buying my very expensive Petite Knit bag, I couldn't justify buying another more expensive bag, so I didn't do it. So yes, this is bag number 1. And then the other 2, actually, what I did is they're on Etsy, so I bought that one on Etsy, and as I was there, these came up as suggested, and I was like, oh, that's really cute. So I don't know if they're intended for knitting or just pouches, but they're perfect. And I messaged the designer or the maker, and I said, firstly, your bags are amazing. And I asked, like I said, if you ever make bigger sizes, I'd be very interested. And she said, well, I take custom orders. So I need to bear that in mind, because these are incredibly well made. I'm a big fan. The designer is called Lysander and Olive, and if I'm being perfectly honest, these caught my eye because they were very well priced, and they weren't very expensive at all. So this one I'll show first. It's a little pouch. I think it was £12.50. but I don't want to say that in case it was slightly more. But if it was more, it wasn't a whole lot more. So I've put my fingering weight sweater in here. So it's a pretty small bag, but like it fits a whole sweater. Well, I mean, it's a fingering weight sweater. It's pretty small. I'd say it's like a sock pouch or like a one skein pouch. But like I say, like this whole sweater fits in, and it's not like, it could fit another skein of yarn maybe. It's very dinky. It's super cute. What I really enjoy, I don't think that my crappy camera will show it, but there are little flecks in this rope, like little coloured flecks. It's not got like a thing attached, but you could obviously attach anything here. And it's really well made. Like, I'm a big fan of how well made this is actually. It's really lovely. So yeah, that's the first one. And the second one, I don't know if I'll use for knitting. When we travel, I feel like I'm going places. I'm just getting the train to places. I feel like I'm always looking for pouches, and this was there, and I love the pattern. I think it is the same pattern, it's just a different colourway. So it's quite small. I think I would fit, I don't know why, honestly I don't think I fit very much in here. Like a pair of BPNs maybe. It would fit a sock. But I thought maybe either I could use it for a notions pouch, or I could use it for putting like phone chargers and stuff in when I go somewhere, because I always put my cables in a different bag. And when she said I do custom orders, I actually thought, well, this in a big bag would like this and this style, this fabric and bigger would be perfection. So yeah, it came so nicely. They both came beautifully packaged. One was like tissue paper, one was brown paper, wrapped up, business card, little note, all the jazz. I'm so impressed at how much effort and thought goes into like when you get parcels from indie like makers. It's always so well designed. Those are all my bags. One more is coming, but it's coming on probably tomorrow, so I'll just say that for next time. So the last thing is some yarn. So we went to London for 2 days, well, one overnight. We went to a gig at Somerset House, and it was actually amazing. It was really good. It was a flying trip. I think we got the train at 6:30 from Edinburgh down on the Wednesday, and then we had a day in London, and then it was a very, very hot day in London, and then we got the train back up on the Thursday evening. But my partner, he was going to, his company has an office in Bristol, so he had a thing in Bristol on the Friday, so I came up on the Thursday night, so I came up on the train by myself. And his train to Bristol was like 2 hours before my train back to Edinburgh, so I had 2 hours to kill, and we were in West London, and I was like, well, my favourite yarn shop in the whole world that I've ever been to, maybe there's one out there like more, but thus far in my life, is only 50 minutes away on the bus. So of course I had to go. So Beautiful Knitters is in West London. It's in Pimlico. But if you're anywhere like around there, it's super easy to get to. We were in Sloane Square in Chelsea, which I've never been in Sloane Square. It's the first time I've been to Sloane Square. But it was only 15 minutes on the bus. So I hopped on that and went over, and I was like, okay, you've got an hour in the shop, and then you have to leave to go get the bus, go get the train. And I thought an hour, more than enough time. Of course not. I stood there chatting away, and it was amazing. I really love them. They knew who I was from last time I went in. She was like, oh, I know you bought X, Y, and Z. And I was like, that was 6 months ago. You are an absolute star. Like, even I couldn't remember what I bought. She was like, oh yeah, remember you bought the heavy merino? And I was like, yeah, you're right, I did buy the heavy merino. It was so cool. What I really love about that shop is they have everything that you want them to have, and then they have a lot of things you don't expect them to have, which are amazing. They've got a great selection of little trinkets, like I want all the books, I want all the bits, and they're so good. When I arrived, there was an Icelandic woman there, well, a woman who lives in Iceland, because she was talking about the yarn she could get in Iceland, and she was leaving, and she'd already bought them things, and there's a sample of a crocheted t-shirt, and she saw the sample, and she was like, this is amazing. And then the owner came and we were chatting about it, and then she bought all the yarn to make the sample, and then she found out the pattern, and she sent her the pattern to Ravelry, and she's like, she bought the crochet hook, she's like, I'm gonna cast this on tonight. And then the owner's like, do you want me to print your copy of the pattern? And it was just like, it wasn't just, oh yeah, here's my sample, here's my yarn. It was like, here's every single thing I can do to enable your craft experience. Like, I'll print out the pattern for you. I've emailed you on Ravelry. I thought it was amazing. And they're always at that. Like last time I went in, they were teaching someone to knit. Like it's just, that's just their standard of customer service. And I love it. So I bought some things. I didn't buy that much. The first thing I bought is a skein of the Knitting Pullover Merino in the colour ochre, dark ochre brown. This is because when they had their sale where they were donating all the funds to support Ukrainian refugees, and they sent me the wrong colour. So I ordered a selection of colours. I still never cast the project on, but I ordered like 5, I ordered the main colour and I think 5 contrast colours, and this was the contrast colour I ordered, and instead of sending me this colour, they sent me dark brown, which is like a chocolate brown colour. But I was not like, I wasn't going to kick off fast because they just processed like a quarter of a million, what was it that in pounds? It was a lot of money. They processed a lot of orders in a short amount of time, and I was like, it's not a big deal. It's one skein of merino, I'll use it, and I can pick up another skein. So that was the first thing I did. I bought the right colour for that. And then I just bought more of the merino because it's so pretty. So I bought 4 skeins of pomegranate. It's definitely more, I just have that TikTok thing. It's a pomegranate, no, it's a grapefruit. It's definitely more orange in real life. Here it's very pillar box red. In real life it's a bit more like terracotta orange. Like this is pillar box red, and this, yeah, it's not really helping. I tried. I might have not bought enough of this yarn. I bought it thinking I'd make a fingering weight sweater, and I have 1,000 meters. Should I have bought an extra one? Like 1250 would have been better, wouldn't it? Each one of these 250 meters. I'm annoyed. I should have just picked up one more, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. I also do have some red mohair that I could pair with this, but I really like the idea of just having this on its own, like just a fingering weight sweater. I was thinking I could cast on, I theoretically do have enough yardage for the No Cozy Classic Raglan Light, and I think that's with like the crops. I think I have enough for a cropped body long sleeve version, which is what I'd want anyway. So that's the plan. And then I also bought a very cute little badge, which I need to decide what to put on. I think I'll put this on one of, maybe I'll do it now. I should put it on one of my new bags. I think my yellow one. So this is the badge. It's from Along Avec Anna, and it says Proud Knitter. And there were some really cute ones. This is the one that I was drawn to. But I was just like, oh yes, I need that. I used to have a bit more, like, I used to be good at keeping pins, but I've not done it in a long time actually. There you go. Very cute. And then they also gave me a little tape measure, which I was super chuffed with, and it's also got their logo on it, and it's a little retractable one, and this is great because I feel like you need, like I have 4 or 5 of these and I never have them when I need them. I have a little zipper pouch of notions that I tend to put, like if I'm going away somewhere I take it, and what I've done is, this is ridiculous, I have a long tape measure that I think I damaged part of, and so I cut it to where it wasn't that. I think I burned it with the iron, like melted it with the iron at like the 20 inches mark, so I cut it. So now I keep it folded up in that little pouch because it takes up no space. But this will be a much more professional way of doing that and taking it places without me having to take like a scrappy piece of measuring tape with me. So yeah, it's really cute. So that was amazing. I was so glad I got to go there because I just love that shop so much. It made me sad that I don't live in London to go there more often. But yeah, it was really nice. It was lovely to go in, and I would say, like, if you're in London and you have time to go to one knitting shop, like that should be the shop you go to because it's just so good. And they're so nice, and it's just like everything you want from a yarn, like a small, like an indie yarn shop experience. So really love that. And yeah, that's all I've got for knitting content. I think I've been chatting for quite a while. What do we have coming up? It's been, yeah, a busy couple of weeks. So we were down in London, and that was amazing. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was a bit of a flying trip, but it was really good. And then we had a bit of a heat wave. I went swimming in the sea in Edinburgh on Tuesday. I took myself to the beach for a couple of hours and just went for a swim in the sea. I took my lunch there and this worked later once it cooled down in the evening. And so I took like a 2-hour lunch. So I took my lunch to the beach and put on a swimming costume and swam in the sea, which I felt very freeing. I enjoyed that. And then coming up, it's an exciting weekend because lovely Caroline is getting married to her fiance Ben on Sunday, and there are some other knitters that are coming to the wedding. So it's a couple of people coming up from the down souths. So I think we're going for some dinner on Sunday, and then the wedding reception. Dinner on Saturday, and then going to the wedding reception on Sunday evening. I feel for my poor boyfriend who doesn't like a social environment at the best of times, but going to a wedding where he doesn't know anyone is going to be interesting. But I'm hoping that the knitting boyfriends and husband, there's a husband, there'll be 2 husbands by Sunday, but I think it's otherwise knitting boyfriends, will all get on and chat, and I don't know, maybe they can bond over losing all the space in their house to yarn, maybe. So I'm really looking forward to that actually. I didn't really feel how real it was, and then I was watching Laura Penrose this morning trying to, with her most recent episode of her podcast, and she's trying to finish her sweater or her wrap cardigan in time to wear to the wedding, and I suddenly thought, oh my goodness, that's this weekend. I'm making a dress for it. I'm making a lilac like silky wrap dress, which I'm hoping to finish tonight. It's mostly done. I've got to attach the sleeves and attach the skirt. That's my plan. And then next week we have some cricket to watch. There's some cricket on in Scotland, which doesn't happen very often. So it's New Zealand are playing Scotland. And my partner's Kiwi, and so I'm obviously Scottish, so it'll be a house feud as we go and watch that. I think there are 3 games over the course of the week, and we have tickets to all 3 games. We thought we'd just indulge. So that's also good knitting time. I think it's Wednesday afternoon, Friday afternoon, and Sunday all day. And the other exciting thing obviously is just the Cargill test knit's coming. So that's about it. I'm looking forward to it. I guess by the time the video is live, the test knit will be live. But right now I'm looking forward to tomorrow when the video goes live. So yeah, that's going to be really good. Really exciting couple of days ahead, and that's about it. Is that everything? I think so. I hope this has felt very all over the place for me because I had to stop halfway through, but I hope that didn't translate. I hope it flowed well. As always, it's so nice to read your comments and have chats with you down below. I'm getting better at replying to comments. I'm kind of getting through them, and I'm feeling very good to be back on top of them, so I really appreciate that. And yeah, the drill, obviously, you can leave me some comments below, or you can like the video, and if you're not subscribed to the video, you should subscribe to the video, because I'm very close to hitting, what did Jonathan call it in his episode, a large arbitrary number. We're close to an arbitrary number that for some reason feels good, even though it's just a number. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed, and the chaos has been enjoyable chaos, and that I kept you company for an hour or so, and I'll be back in a few weeks with the next episode. Speak to you then. Have a good time. Bye.